Sometimes, everything that changes an entire life. It is a single sentence spoken at dawn. When the world is still whispering and the light barely touches the windows, there is a sacred instant. An instant that does not scream, that does not demand, but whispers possibilities. Most pass by it without noticing, but who recognizes it, awakens. Carl Jung, the man who delved into the depths of the human soul, believed that we are not just what we see in the mirror. We are made of invisible fragments, memories, forgotten dreams, desires that we dare not name. And he knew that the first thing we say when we wake up is not just a sentence. It's a magical gesture, a nod to the universe, a whisper to his own soul. Imagine yourself there, in the first seconds of the day. Before the cell phone, before coffee, before any obligation. The mind still between worlds, like a lake where the reflection of the unconscious dances. It is at this very moment that a sentence, a single sentence, can be the bridge between what you are and what it can become. Jung did not speak of superstition. He was talking about synchronicity, encounters that seem like chance but are subtle responses to existence. And when you awaken with intention, when you utter words that carry soul, something moves. An invisible piece rotates in the silent mechanism of fate. Have you ever felt that certain days are different for no apparent reason? That there is an inexplicable lightness, a secret music in the events? Perhaps, in these days, your soul has aligned with something greater. Perhaps, without realizing it, you have become attuned to what Jung called the self, the true center of being, which knows your paths before you even imagine them. But how to access this? How to listen to what is beyond the noise? The answer is as simple as it is profound: silence. A silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of oneself. And within that silence, a sentence. Not just any sentence. One that does not come from the hasty mind, but from the awakened heart. Jung suggested something that few dare to do: stop. Look inside. And to say, with all my soul, something like, "Today, I open myself to the unexpected." Not as a command, but as an invitation. A discreet ritual that calls the invisible to dance with you. Think about it. Every day, we repeat the same gestures, follow the same paths, feed the same fears. But what if, for a moment, we put ourselves on the edge of the unknown? What if this little phrase was a door between the usual and the extraordinary? The unconscious does not speak with words. He speaks with symbols, coincidences, dreams. He answers what is true. Therefore, when you wake up and say something that is born of the soul, it listens. And he answers. Not with movie magic, but with signs. With unexpected encounters. With ideas that come out of nowhere. With subtle changes that, little by little, transform everything. Jung knew that reality is not rigid. It is moldable. And it starts within. By repeating mindful phrases, by honoring the first few minutes of the day as sacred, you change your frequency. And when the frequency changes, what attracts changes. This is no secret. It is forgotten wisdom. It is a return to a time when man talked to the wind, heard fire, and understood silence as an answer. The phrase you choose in the morning doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be long. It just needs to be true. It can be a thank you, a humble request, a reminder of who you want to be. But it needs to be said with presence. No distraction, no rush, as if he spoke directly to life. And life, listening. At first, it seems small. One detail. But over time, something reorganizes itself inside. You begin to notice what you previously ignored. To feel more deeply. To notice patterns. The following are intuitions. It's as if, finally, you start talking to the oldest and wisest part of yourself. And that part? He never misses the path. There are those who live an entire existence without realizing that they were asleep even with their eyes open. And there are those who, when saying a phrase with soul, wake up forever. This is what Jung believed, that we are more than we think, that the invisible is as real as the ground beneath our feet, and that, every day, we have a silent chance to align ourselves with what calls us. So tomorrow, when you open your eyes, don't rush. Breathe, listen, and say with soul, "Today, I choose to walk with what I still don't understand. And see what happens. Life has ears. But she only responds to those who dare to speak from the heart. It's not always the world that hurts us. Sometimes it's the way we wake up to it. There are those who wake up already in combat. Against the clock. Against silence. Against himself. As if the simple act of opening your eyes was already a burden. And the body rises, but the soul still sleeps. It is like walking without ground, reacting without intention, existing without presence. And in this automatic movement, we move away from what matters most, from what we are when no one is looking. Carl Jung knew this. He said that the way you awaken reveals the way you live. That the first moments of the day are like a seed. What you plant there blooms the rest of the day. But if you sow fear, haste is born. If you plant guilt, tiredness is born. Awareness is planted, direction is born. Have you ever noticed how certain phrases are poison in disguise? Another heavy day. I'm already late. I can't take it anymore. They seem harmless, routine, but they carry immense power. They are like small negative spells cast on oneself. And the worst thing, repeated day after day, they become true. Because the unconscious listens to everything. And he obeys. But what if you change that? What if, instead of giving your soul the same tired script, you gave it a new command? Something that would say, today I choose to be at peace, even if everything is in chaos. Not as a gimmick, but as an internal positioning. A symbolic gesture. A micro-act of revolution. Jung called this ritual, not in the religious sense, but as a sacred movement of intention. A reminder that you don't just have to react to life. You can create it every day from the first thought. And this thought, this initial sentence, can become an energetic seal. A milestone. A starting point. The most transformative phrases are not the most elaborate. They are the most sincere. Today, my heart knows the way, even when my mind doubts. Or, whatever comes, find me present. Or just, I remember me. Yes, sometimes it's just that, remembering yourself. Because in the chaos of the tasks, the commitments and the demands of the world, we forget. We forget about lightness. We have forgotten the purpose. We forget that we are much more than what we can do. We are presence. We are pause. We are silence too. And in this forgetfulness, we get sick. The soul screams in the form of anxiety, insomnia, meaninglessness. And it all started there, in the first minute of the day when there was no space. When the body rose, but the soul remained. When you woke up on automatic, and they were not welcomed. The morning phrase is like a greeting to your own existence. A gentle tap on the shoulder of your being saying, I see you. And this recognition, although brief, changes the tone of the entire day. Jung said that symbols are more powerful than ideas. Because ideas convince the mind, but symbols transform the soul. And when you repeat a symbolic phrase day after day, it becomes root. It begins to anchor you on the good days and especially on the bad days. On bad days, it doesn't disappear. She whispers, I'm still here. And you remember that even in pain, there is room for presence. That even when in doubt, it is possible to choose kindness. That even without understanding everything, it is possible to continue. The beauty of this ritual lies in its constancy. Because the unconscious is not open to sporadic effort, but to gesture repeated with truth. Like the water that pierces the stone, not by force, but by serene insistence. And little by little, something blooms. A new way of looking. A new internal rhythm. A new listening. The people around notice. They may not be able to say what has changed, but they will feel it. Because those who live with soul radiates. This is the invitation, to awaken with intention, to live with presence, to speak to the invisible as if knowing that life listens. And she listens. Listen indeed. But it only responds to those who have the courage to make room for silence before noise. To feel it before doing it. You can choose your phrase. You don't need to copy it from anyone. She can be shy, confused, hesitant. But if it's yours, it will have power. Today I welcome even what I don't understand. Even though I am fragile, I walk. I trust what I don't see yet. Choose the one that touches your soul. And let it touch the world for you. Jung said that the unconscious does not respond to impositions, but to permissions. And perhaps that is the greatest wisdom here, not to force, but to allow. Allow the day to dawn in you, before it is born out. Allow the soul to wake up along with the body. Allow yourself to be present in your own life. Because true transformation does not scream. She whispers. It begins with a sigh, a gesture, a loose phrase at dawn. A phrase that may say, "Today I don't fight against the day. I move with it." And so, without realizing it, you've already changed everything. What you say to the world when you open your eyes. It's what the world hears from you the rest of the day. It may seem exaggerated, but it is not. The first sentence that comes from your lips or your thoughts in the morning is not just a sound. It is a psychic gesture. It's as if you reach out to the invisible and say, "I'm here, and I want to be whole." Carl Jung understood the language of the soul like few others. He knew that the silent rituals, the ones that no one sees, are the ones that most shape our reality. Because it is these intimate gestures that define the way we position ourselves in life. And if everything starts with a sentence, everything can also be reborn with a sentence. A phrase that returns you to the center, that anchors you, that protects you from the chaos that the day insists on bringing. There are days when that phrase will be as smooth as a breath. I allow myself to start over. In others, he will need to be firm as a shield. Today, I respect my limit. And even on the hardest mornings, when the world weighs and the soul drags on, still, a sentence can be light. Even if it trembled, even if whispered. You don't have to wake up strong. You just need to wake up with presence. That's what transforms. It's not the size of your courage, but the willingness to be with yourself, in spite of everything. Jung said that the greatest encounters in life happen first within us. And the morning sentence is the beginning of this meeting. A sacred encounter between who you have been and who you can be. Imagine this. The day begins, the sky is still shy, the world outside has not yet demanded anything from you. But you breathe, you feel, you choose. And he says, "Today, I turn to what is essential." And that's it. That simple gesture changes everything. Because before the world tells you what to do, you've already decided who you want to be. That's power. The kind of power that doesn't scream. That he does not dominate, but that sustains. The morning sentence is his first yes. And every true yes creates a new path. It's not about forced positivity. It's not about denying what hurts. It's about welcoming. And Jung knew that only what is embraced with truth heals. Therefore, on the days when sadness comes first, say, "Today, I am not in a hurry. I listen to myself." And on days when the mind is confused, say, "Even without clarity, I walk with confidence." This practice is repeated. And in repetition, it gets stronger. It becomes a symbol. It becomes seed. It becomes ritual. And rituals take root. Not on the ground, but inside. In emotions. In the way we look at the other. In the way we react to the unexpected. You may not control what will come, but you can choose how you will position yourself. And this choice starts before you even get out of bed. Jung also talked about the archetypes that inhabit us. Living forces within the psyche that activate when evoked. And the phrase of the morning, it is a call. By saying, "Today I act with courage, even with fear," you call out the hero who lives in you. By saying, "Today I take care of what matters, including myself," you invite the curator. By saying, "Today I listen before judging," you awaken the wise. And none of them need to be perfect. Just present. Waking up is not just about opening your eyes. It is to open the stage of the soul. And who you invite to the first scene of your day changes the whole story to come. You can repeat old patterns or write a new beginning. It can carry the fears of yesterday or make room for other possibilities. You can wear the noise of the world or cover yourself with the lightness of your own choice. And this choice, it's always yours. Even when the world seems to come crashing down. Even when everything is dense. Even when nothing seems to make sense. Because on these days, a phrase can still be shelter. A subtle reminder that you are alive. and that there is still a way to go. Today, I follow, even without knowing where it will lead. Sometimes that's enough, because it is not certainty that guides. It's the delivery. And you see, this ritual is not meant to be another charge. It's meant to be a space, a safe place where your soul can rest, even for a brief instant. A place where it is not demanded, it is only allowed. And this place, it starts with you. Carl Jung taught us that what we ignore within us, it ends up becoming our destiny. But what we accept with conscience is transformed into freedom. Therefore, when you wake up, ask yourself, which part of me do I choose to listen to today? And listen, even if the answer comes in silence. Because silence also speaks. And sometimes that's where the truth lies. You don't have to change the world. You just need to change the way you enter it. And that starts with a sentence. Only one. Chosen with the heart. Repeated with presence. Felt with reverence. Because when you start the day different, the day starts differently with you. Not every fresh start requires strength. Sometimes, everything he asks, it's a sincere pause. There are those who believe that changing life requires grand gestures, drastic decisions, breakups. But Jung taught us otherwise. He said that the soul is subtle, that the greatest internal movements begin in minimal, almost invisible gestures. And one of them is this, the silent instant right when you wake up. An instant that may seem banal, but which holds within itself the power to reorganize reality. When you wake up and say a sentence with truth, even if it is simple, something happens. Not in the world outside, but in the world inside. A world that almost no one sees, but that decides everything. Your mood, your choices, your links, your way of feeling time. And it is in this invisible world that the real magic happens. Have you ever noticed how certain people seem to walk in peace even in the midst of chaos? As if they had an internal compass that does not get disoriented? Perhaps they have learned to create rituals. Not external rituals, but internal gestures. Phrases that work as reminders of what is essential. And the most curious thing, they do it without fanfare. They do it in silence. By breathing before getting up. In feeling before doing. And this gesture, repeated with intention, becomes strength. Jung said that the symbol is the deepest language of the soul. And a morning phrase, when chosen with soul, becomes a symbol. It inscribes itself in the psyche. She draws a path. And when you repeat it with truth, day after day, it turns into direction. Waking up and saying, today, I make room for whatever comes with meaning. It is not just poetry. It's alignment. And this alignment changes everything. Because when you're aligned, you don't have to force it. You don't need to convince. You don't have to run. The world begins to respond in a different way. The doors open more organically. Connections flow. The choices gain clarity. Not because the world has changed, but because you've changed the place from which you look at it. And this place, it is internal. The ritual of the phrase is a way of cleaning this internal space. As if you opened a window in the soul. As if to say, I'm here, and I want to be whole in whatever comes. And this, as simple as it may seem, is an act of courage. Because most wake up in reaction. He already jumps into the day without realizing it. He already responds to noise without first hearing what he feels. He is already dressed in a hurry before he even wonders how he is. But you don't have to be the majority. You can be the one who starts different. The one who chooses presence before the answer. The one who silences a second before moving on. The one who honors one's own feeling. Because when you honor what you feel, you begin to live with more truth. And live with truth, it is to live lightly. Even on heavy days. Even in the moments when everything seems confusing. Because lightness is not the absence of pain. It is presence in the middle of it. It is knowing that even without answers, there is meaning. Even without guarantees, there is a way. Even without strength, there is a voice. The phrase you say when you wake up is that voice. A voice that does not scream, but that sustains. A voice that does not impose, but it invites. A voice that doesn't lie. But he remembers, you're still here. And that is enough to start over. Jung said that rituals are necessary because they offer form to the invisible. They create contour for what is abstract. And when the contour is done with intention, the invisible becomes palpable. The soul responds. The energy changes. The day is reorganized. You can use this ritual whenever you want. In the morning, before a meeting, before a hug, before a no, before a yes. It serves to remind you that you have a choice. That even when everything seems out of place, you can put something in the center. One sentence, a sigh, a gesture of presence. That's it. It is power. The subtlest power. The deepest. The most forgotten. The one who doesn't control the world, but who transforms the way you go through it. Carl Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming who you are. And every morning is a chance to start that process anew. It's not about having all the answers. It's about starting with a sincere question. It's not about getting it right every time. It's about being whole in what you choose. It's not about controlling events. It's about choosing the way you get into them. And it all starts with a sentence. Today, it may be, I am the space between the noise. Tomorrow, perhaps, even without haste, I will keep going. And one day, when everything seems dark, you may say, I'm here even though I don't know why. And this sentence, it will be light. Because it is in the dark that the soul hears best. And she listens. He always listens. There are times when the soul doesn't want to be fixed, she just wants to be heard. And maybe that's why the world seems so noisy, because almost no one knows how to hear how they feel. Carl Jung said that what we do not know about ourselves does not disappear. On the contrary, it grows, spreads, becomes a destination. And often, the fate that imprisons us the most. It is the one we create by not listening to ourselves as soon as we wake up. The first minute of the day is a silent crossroads. You can go down the same path as always, automatic, hurried, blind. Or you can pause, breathe, and ask silently, what's alive in me now? That alone is the beginning of a revolution. A revolution without a flag, without struggle, without haste. A revolution made of presence. And it is in this presence that the morning phrase flourishes. Not as an obligation, but as an open space for the soul to breathe. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about being truthful. Because the soul is not deceived by ready-made phrases. It responds to what is felt. She recognizes when there is listening. And she feels welcomed when there is intention. The phrase you say when you wake up is like a seed. Sometimes, you'll only see the flower much later. But it begins there, in the damp earth of your consciousness. And the more you water it with repetition, with listening, with presence, the more roots it creates. And those roots sustain you, especially on days when nothing seems firm. Jung said that the unconscious is a co-author of life. It not only records memories, but writes along with you the history that is to come. And the words you offer him early in the morning are like guidelines for this invisible script. When you say, today, I act kindly to myself, the unconscious listens and organizes its gestures accordingly. When you say, today, I choose to see it more lightly, it begins to show you what previously went unnoticed. What if you wake up not knowing what to say? Say so. Today, I don't know. But I'm willing to listen. This is perhaps the most honest phrase there is. Because it's not the content that matters. It is the opening. It is the willingness not to run away from oneself. That's it. It is already a form of healing. The world around will follow with its demands. But inside you, there will be an untouched corner. A place where words are seeds and silence is fertile soil. And in this place, which only you can access, life reorganizes itself. From the inside out. From light to intense. From simple to sacred. You don't have to change your entire routine. You don't have to live in a temple or follow a manual. It only takes a minute. An instant pause. A look inside. A sincere gesture. A phrase that is only yours. Today, I come back to myself. Or, I give myself permission to be as I am. Or just, I'm here. And that's enough. These words, when spoken with truth, become compasses. They do not point to a fixed destination, but they help not to lose oneself. And that is the greatest wisdom, to remember every day where you are, who you are, which one can still choose. Jung knew that what saves a life is not grandiose answers, but small re-encounters with what is essential. Waking up and saying a phrase is this, a reunion, a touch on the chest of existence itself. "Good morning," said to the soul. And when the soul is greeted, it flourishes. Even in the cold, even in the dark. You don't have to wait for a crisis to change. You can start with a gesture. It can start tomorrow, or now. It can be with the simplest phrase, "Today, I am a new beginning." Because in fact it is. Every awakening is a chance to write the rest of the story with more awareness, more lightness, more listening. The phrase you choose today can be the root of what you will become tomorrow. And the most beautiful thing is that there is no right or wrong. There is what is true, and only the true remains.